What is up, you wonderful people? It's Nima here, and today we are going to go over some of the stuff with the Nintendo Switch 2. Basically, compile all the information that we have as of recording this, which, as you know, will not be a complete rundown by the time this comes out because, well, that's the internet and that's how it works. But I also wanted to mention something too. I have a review coming out in the next day or two for a game called Folklore. It's a roguelite on the Nintendo Switch. It's a really fun little game, but I might have some codes in my next video. So you definitely want to be on the lookout for that because you might have an opportunity to actually get the game for free. And one other thing to mention is I'm actually going to be doing a not long video, but longer video on Judgment, the series that has kind of been inspired by the Yakuza series. There's just two games in the series, but I've been playing it, really obsessed with it, and just kind of going over those two games. And that'll come out at some point in the near future. But sometimes I ask myself, well, why do I even cover PlayStation games or Xbox games? Those videos usually don't do very well. I recently just released a video for Dynasty Warriors Origins, and it was awful compared to just a random Nintendo Switch, even an indie game. The views are just down. People don't care as much about these other games that they do for the Nintendo Switch. And why I'm bringing this up in general is because of some of the information that I think we should think about while heading into this next generation, and that is a lot of the games that are on other consoles right now are going to be on the Nintendo Switch too. And a lot of these things have already been talked about, and a lot of the titles have already been thrown around, but we have even more information as we're leading into this next generation. And it goes far beyond the Final Fantasy VII Rebirth talk or even the Metal Gear Solid. In fact, there was a Microsoft showcase recently, and they really doubled down on just how much they don't want their games to be exclusive, and the idea of many of these games being on multiple consoles. And as I'm sure you can guess, where would they more likely put their games? Oh, the direct competitor to them is PlayStation or Nintendo, who they've worked with many times before. And at this point now, with the Switch 2 coming out, I think they're able to work with them even closer because now Nintendo has the hardware to be able to play some of these games. And in fact, there's a game called Gears of War E-Day, I believe. Many believe that that is going to be a multi-console release, which will be the first of the type for Gears of War, but that'll also initiate this whole other process where they're going to go back for the first, like, three, maybe even five Gears of War games, remaster them a little bit, and then release them on different consoles. But one of the big ones being the Nintendo Switch 2, because it could easily run it, apparently. But it's not only Microsoft who's also going to be helping Nintendo fill its coffers. Sony, of course, is also going to. In fact, recently, they've already worked with Nintendo. The Horizon Zero Dawn Lego game was just released, I believe, in either December or November, cementing one of the times that Sony and Nintendo has worked together, and these collaborations have happened more and more. You ask any game developer what do they want more than anything, and they want more people to play their games. And Sony obviously can only go one way most of the time, and that is to work with Nintendo. The same thing with Microsoft. Now, Microsoft, though, is the much more interesting aspect because they kind of just want to give their games to everyone. They've kind of fallen into this idea that they are, at its heart, a software company. And that really seems to be the direction that they're going. And that only helps Nintendo when you think about the large library that could be available on the Switch too. Not to mention something like the Game Pass. Remember, this was rumored quite a while ago, but these things take time. Having Game Pass on Nintendo Switch 2 would be amazing. And so sometimes I do like to play my PlayStation 5 or even Xbox and review some of the games that come out because I think, well, that could be an opportunity to kind of throw some foreshadowing into what might come out and give consumers an idea of if they should purchase a game or not. Also, I do not want to be hamstrung to one console. It's just a bad look. And I've thought about this in many ways, and one of them is when thinking about the Switch 2, what if it kind of sucks? Like, I don't think it will, and I I hope it won't. And I truly believe that Nintendo is doing everything that we asked them to do. Hey, we want a second Switch to come out that's more powerful, it's a little bit bigger, it can just do more things, but don't change. Don't go crazy with it. Don't make it like a VR thing for your dog. We just want more powerful system so we can play better games or more up-to-date games. And that seems to be what they're doing. But I do wonder about the power and the capabilities of keeping up with the other consoles, especially this day and age. Many people have suggested that it is going to be as powerful as the PS4. The PS4 Pro, I think, is what's been thrown around recently. And again, I think the capabilities of that could actually be just fine. I don't think there's going to be a lot of issues. And if I did, I guess that's the only reservations I have about reviewing some PlayStation 5 games and saying, hey, these might come out for the Switch. Is that, well, what if the Switch can't run those games? And that is where I say, what if it kind of sucks? If it can't run these games that are already out for other consoles, then it's already behind the 8 ball by years, because this is not even released yet and it's already having trouble keeping up. So I don't think that that's gonna be the case, but it's something to think about. I mean, we don't know if it's gonna hit the same way. I'm sure many people who had invested in the Wii didn't think the Wii U was gonna flop like it did. Now, if you're a gamer, you would have known, because you would have known that no real gamers actually played the Wii nearly as much as what you would have thought. And when you look at the Switch, their numbers for just like their actual games, the Zeldas, the Marios, Animal Crossing, Super Smash Bros., all those are incredibly high compared to what their sales were on the Nintendo Wii. So that gives you some confidence that we're going in the right direction. And the Switch and hopefully its successor will be propped up by more than like wine moms and, the elderly folks trying to keep active. This is more for hardcore gamers, and I think we've talked about how much like the indie market has meant to the Nintendo Switch, and really just opening that up on the Switch 2, giving us a larger catalog of indie games to play, is an incredibly solid move. And I do think that the Switch 2 is going to be more than capable, but I do have those fears of saying, okay, well, what if I still can't play some of the games that I want to play? The PlayStation 5 games, the Xbox Series X games, and that's also why I don't want to just be tied down to one console. And I know I went a long way around talking about the Nintendo Switch updates while also including it into my own personal life, but I think that that's kind of important, because I think that these are conversations that we all have and that we're all thinking about when going into this next console. The other one that is incredibly important is the price. We finally have an idea what the price is. We don't know 100%, and Donald Trump did just put those tariffs here in America on, I believe it was like 2 days ago, on the computer chip, so it's going to be 25% more of what we think this is going to be. But from an Italian company who was taking pre-orders for the Switch 2, they had it at around $380, which would be an incredibly fair price if you ask me. Now, I do think that they sort of shortchanged them, and they've done that before. This same Italian website has done the same thing with like Metaphor ReFantazio. When that game went up for pre-order, they actually had it for like $50, and people who got their pre-order from that website, they got their game for $50, which is, a nice discount considering a game went for $70. But they kind of do it as a way to market. They usually give you like a 10 to 20% discount on that pre-order, and of course everyone covers it and talks about it, and it's really a shot in the dark. But I would think they don't want to lose that much money, so I'm guessing the Nintendo Switch 2 is probably going to be around $400. And again, I still find that incredibly fair. It's definitely going to be one of those situations where I'm totally going to be trading in my OLED and maybe even a few games to cover the price of a Switch 2 as soon as I possibly can. Which also leads us to one other thing before we're done with this like Nintendo Switch 2 update video. During the launch video showing the Nintendo Switch 2, we got this little thing at the end that said, hey, if you enter here, you have a chance to win a hands-on experience with the Switch 2. And they were there was 3 events, one in, I think, Los Angeles, New York, and Dallas. I believe that's where they all were. Anyway, most people did not get in. They didn't get tickets to this. It was all randomized, apparently, and whatever. Well, essentially, the people who did win, there was a few of them who decided they wanted to put their tickets up, their experience up for sale at eBay to see how much they could get for it. And most recently, one of them sold for $1,000. This is not like you go to this event and you get to Switch 2. No, you're just going there to check it out, probably record a little bit of video, kind of do things. It's almost maybe more for creators and people like that. But just for that experience, some people paid $1,000. By the way, don't do that because apparently that doesn't really transfer over. It's not something that you can easily do. But just to give you an idea what the scalpers are already doing, or how they're going to be prepared for when the actual console drops out. And will we be seeing $1,000 Switch 2s on eBay? Yeah, probably. Even though Nintendo has said that they've definitely ramped up enough production, so there's going to be more than enough. We all know how this happens. These scalpers buy like truckloads of them essentially, and then causing the shortage that wouldn't have existed without them there, and then they're able to charge like $1,000 for the Switch 2. And so we'll have to see if they've gotten better. The retail stores have gotten better at actually pre-ordering these things, and what in-person shopping is going to look like. All of that we'll see, and hopefully it is better than what it has been in recent years. Especially without the other issues that we've had worldwide, it might be better. But anyway, just to do a recap, we have an idea what the price is. We have an idea how powerful it's going to be in that PS4 Pro range. And we have an idea what some of the software is going to be out there, and how it's probably going to borrow from the past catalogs of like the PlayStation 5 and even Xbox Series X and X. Anyway, that's it for me. I did want to mention a few things to anyone who still cares. One, I appreciate you guys. You guys are amazing. I've definitely been sick the last couple of weeks. That's probably why my voice hopefully doesn't sound too awful. Also dealing with some situations where I'm having to travel back and forth to another state for my father, who was intubated a few days ago. His esophagus started to close up, and so they had to intubate him and helicopter him to another state. And so I'm traveling back and forth quite a bit so I can be with my mom and to help her at her situation, her age and everything. Like, she does not feel comfortable driving in the city. So it's like almost every day I'm driving like 6 hours. And so that does and has caused a little bit of slowdown on videos and production and things like that. But anyway, I just wanted to let you guys know if you had noticed anything. But anyway, I appreciate each and every one of you guys. I love y'all. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.